afternoon, whenever you're listening to this, welcome to the internet's most sophisticated wrestling podcast, discussing the weekly aspects of it all, right here on
The Bald Monkeys Wrestling Podcast.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Bald Monkeys Wrestling Podcast. Couple days removed from myself and Christopher and the boss going to AEW Dynamite. And man, did Cody cut the promo of the year, I think.
No, and even if it's not the promo of the year, it's worth talking about the rest of this year, the rest of next year. And it was so much better even watching on TV. Live, it was great. The crowd's reaction was great. But then getting to watch it on TV back, I didn't realize how good it really was until I watched it back 3, 4, 7 times.
Yeah, were you able to find us on the television, like way back there? Like, did you get really close to the screen? Like, oh, there we are. That little.
I
blob
have
over there.
not done that yet. I mean, we didn't do a good job of raising our shirt up and down so to make sure that people could see us.
Not at all.
Yeah.
So we'll have to work on that.
I
next time.
had to take the photo just so all you people know. We have a little text group that goes through during the week, and I was at the Slayer show up in Hershey, Pennsylvania. So as I was enjoying that, these guys were enjoying AEW, and they sent me a picture of where their seats were, and I was like, okay, there's a stage, there's a ring, and I locate two people that are very close to them. One guy in a red shirt, I think, and one person in a yellow shirt.
Red
and then
shirt,
I'm watching on TV, and I'm going, oh, there they are. But there's no shirt tugging. I can't tell if it's really them. What is going on?
To fill in the gaps here, we went to go see an NXT show in Philly, and
a takeover, not an NXT show.
we should-
a
a
takeover.
man.
Okay, yeah.
We gotta put the video up on like Twitter and Instagram and Facebook.
We could do that. Yeah.
And Chuck was like, he was thinking there, I think I see myself in this camera. So he starts tugging his shirt like mad. And then after that's over, he looks over us and goes, I think we were on camera. And then sure enough, later on when we went home, he's like, there we are.
Forever on the WWE network,
Yeah,
Chuck
just
tugging his shirt.
The crazy shirt tugger.
Oh, man. What an uninteresting story for our listeners, but enjoyable.
It's a good opener.
They're all like, wait, you guys just wasted at least 3 minutes of our time on this.
I just felt like my time was wasted, and I'm part of the group.
Oh, you only feel like it was wasted because you're bitter you didn't go. Yeah, he's still hurting over that one. So, AEW, we only have Le King Christopher for a little bit of time here. So
Christopher.
he is the pick king going into today. So we have a new set of picks because Full Gear is tonight. So we need to do those picks very first thing. And if you guys see on here, I've got the picks listed already. And I'm sure Captain Chuckles is going to write down who's picking what. But
It's a good thing. That's so when I forget who I pick later on, I can always ask Chuck. That's always helpful for me.
And I think the big thing is we need to keep track of who goes first. So I went first last time, and I know Chris complained about not going first last time. And since he is Le Champion, we are going to let him pick first.
How does that work?
I don't know. What should we have? Like, not you go first? I could have Steven go first.
No, I'll go first. That's fine. I'm okay with that.
Don't bend my arm. Okay, so
ow.
our first match is so this will go Chris, then the boss Steven, and then Captain Chuckles, and then I will go last. So our first match is Dr. Britt Baker versus B. Priestley.
Yeah, so I'm gonna pick Britt Baker. I just feel like they're pushing her pretty hard, and she's a decent character. She's a good wrestler. She's all right on the. She did a good promo package the other day. I don't love this match. They're just choppy sometimes, these guys, but that's sometimes what makes it good also. So it could be interesting. I don't know if this is gonna be the first time we've seen them one-on-one. I think it's on the buy-in, right? It's not gonna be on the actual
yes.
show. Yeah. So interesting how they're putting the women on the buy-in. I would argue that the next match we're gonna pick, Spears and Janela, would be a better buy-in match, but I'm going to pick Baker. I think they're just pushing her right now.
And I agree with everything he just said on that first match, Baker.
Chuck?
And I'm going to go for the trifecta so far and go Dr. Britt Baker.
Well, I will go against the grain, and I'm going to pick B. Priestley, although I am a little bit afraid that it might end up being like, Britt Baker wins via DQ because B. Priestley goes off the rails or something like that. But you're gonna see a trend in my picks for this pay-per-view because I'm going with kind of
wrong picks. Is
the
trend. The trend's gonna be you're wrong.
I mean. I'm not
me doing that this time.
I'm going with the dark side. That's all I'm saying. With a lot of these matches, I'm going to be going with the dark side. So,
the heels.
For story purposes, I just think that this is going to be, an Empire Strikes Back type of a pay-per-view. Honestly, so I'm going to go with B. Priestley. So the next match we have Shawn Spears versus Joey Janela, the bad boy Joey Janela. So sad that I didn't get to see you fight Joey Janela. I was disappointed. You came out, but
came out in some really tight pants, which were,
leopardy pants,
which are interesting.
He doesn't care, man. He's the bad boy.
I have issue with this match just because I think Janela needs a better story. I think Spears' story has been disconnected. It seems to be like starting and stopping, and the whole Spears Cody thing never really got to the climax it could have gotten to. The chairman thing is okay, but it's just not. They haven't pushed it far enough. He needs to go all out like heel, and he's just not even getting all the way there. Janela came in with the interference to stop Spears from beating up what's his name, the Dungeons and Dragons guy, the ultimate Brooklyn Brawler of the AEW,
the natural 20 Brandon Cutler. That's who he's talking
the
about.
Natural 20, but yeah, Brandon Cutler. I gotta pick Janela here just because Spears seems like he's turning into no better than when he was in WWE. He's getting to wrestle when he wants to, but he's not going over anybody. So Janela seems like the better pick here. I kind of think I'm going to be wrong, and Spears is finally going to get a win at Janela's expense. But I want to pick Janela. I'm going to pick Janela.
And I'm going with Spears on this one just because, like you said, I think it's time for him to get a win. I think they've been throwing him to the wolves kind of when it comes to the end of matches. He's had decent matches, and I think it's time for them to put a little bit of backing behind him and let him show what he can do. I think he gets this win leading into a few more before they make an ultimate decision if he's going to get pushed or not, but I think he gets the win tonight.
Is there a stipulation in this match?
I don't believe that there is. I haven't heard of one, no.
All right, good. I feel better about my pick.
Chuckles?
I'm going to go with Spears as well. I do like the bad boy, but I think they're going to give it to the chairman tonight.
And I am also going to go with Shawn Spears, and the main reason for this is they did such it was just such a little tie-in to make this a story on AEW Dark, and I think it's important that if this is a program that you want to do, that you have Spears win and continue the program. And it's probably going to be that he wins it because, Tully Blanchard kind of just is a distraction or something like that. But I think that let's add to the overall story. I feel confident with AEW that I'm just when I pick, I'm just like, you know what? What's good for the story, and a lot of times they do go with that. So I think that that's what's good for the story. So let's go for Spears. Next match that I have listed here, I was just trying to do a random guess of how they would map out these matches, but I have the Young Bucks versus Santana and Ortiz.
All right. So obviously Cody has been talking up the Elite versus the Inner Circle. So this is the first match we're going to see where we put the Elite up against the Inner Circle. So have to understand how to pick this with the rest of the night and what direction this feud is going to go. Santana Ortiz really haven't had a match yet. I don't think, have they?
They've had one match against one of the lower level tag teams, kind of like the Jobber
basically
tag
an
team.
enhancement match.
But to AEW's credit, that enhancement tag team is they're just a tag team. They're just like the lowest tag team on the board.
Well,
but they've been in multiple shows.
It's like Cutler. The same
Yeah.
thing. Cutler's an enhancement wrestler, but he's a jobber. Really, what it comes down to is, do I want to pick the Young Bucks taking a win over the Inner Circle, or does it make more sense for the Inner Circle to win the night? I'm going to go with Santana and Ortiz in this, just because I feel like they need the win more. Their characters are great as far as heels coming and sabotaging and ambushing people. So I think I'm going to go with Santana and Ortiz.
I'm also going to go with Santana or Ortiz, but the statement you made that the Inner Circle should win the night, I don't agree with. This is just the first match. I think it's got a little bit of interference, probably. I don't know if anybody actually gets hit, but you get the run-ins, distracting the ref, and maybe a low blow or two. But I think Santana and Ortiz get the big win over the Young Bucks.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to go all for Inner Circle, but I just was trying to figure out what direction you would go, and you don't want to have a complete landslide of a win for one side sometimes. So I don't know. AEW just is rough sometimes picking.
I agree.
Yeah.
I don't think there's going to be any landslide victory in any of the matches there. I think they're all going to be very competitive.
Well, I'm going to agree with you two guys, and I am also going Santana and Ortiz on this one. I think it's going to be a great match, possibly one of the best of the night, in my opinion. I know some of you guys will probably not agree with me, but yeah, I'm going Santana and Ortiz on this one.
I am going to go with Santana and Ortiz as well. But again, like I said, I'm agreeing heavy duty with Chris in regards to, is it going to be a question of does somebody win the night? And I think it's more compelling for Inner Circle to win the night. Therefore, that's probably showing my hand for a few other matches.
Agree.
And I think it's going to be heavy duty Inner Circle winning the night. So Santana and Ortiz, in my opinion. Next match I have here is Riho versus Emi Sakura.
Riho. I don't have a long story for this one. It's just Riho's going to win. You can't have her lose against Sakura. This is not going to be the person to take the belt from her.
You're not picking Freddie Mercury? Come on.
Okay, so now you're going to make me talk. So basically,
Sorry.
I don't get this storyline for storyline purposes. What I do want to say is Sakura and Riho had a moment in the match at AEW this week where they had a great transition and it was getting faster and faster and it was awesome. And if they could put that in the match and layer that in and have a great match, I'd be perfectly happy with it. Other than that, Sakura is not a full character. She's very gimmicky. And she's not as athletic as some of the other wrestlers that we've seen in the ring with Riho. I just feel like there's others that could be in there challenging for the title right now. And I think they just kind of threw her in because they're waiting for a bigger storyline down the line.
I agree. I don't have much to say about the match either. I think Rio wins it. I think it's decently competitive. Might be the best women's match of the night, maybe. But yeah, it'll be decent in Rio.
Chucky?
Well, I'm also going to go with the tiny little wonder known as Riho in this one. This match is a little bit more, at least a little bit more believable with her in it than the match where she won the title or whatnot. But yeah, I'm going to go with Rio.
And that makes 4 of us going for Riho. I definitely think it's an Inner Circle themed Empire type pay-per-view, but this match in particular, like you say, Chris, there's not a whole lot. I mean, I think that they can put on an entertaining match versus whether there's any good storyline going there or anything that's really trying to be too compelling. Like, just go out there and have a really entertaining match. Make it a fun match. And we saw with some of her, Queen Freddie Mercury antics that she can do a few spots that could be kind of funny and crowd interactive. And it was very torn. Like, the crowd wanted to interact, but then some of the other crowd was booing, like trying to boo it down. Like, no, that's the heel. That's the heel. But that's also one of the things that complicates this match is Emi Sakura a heel? I mean, she's got antics like a face, but she's not really. So it's again, it is a case of student versus teacher. That's what they always talk about. So yeah, I mean, I think from that standpoint, that's all it's going to be is, the student is going to master the teacher. So Riho wins. Next match, and this is where I think the card starts to get very difficult to pick. Pac versus Hangman Page.
This is impossible. Oh man. This was the one I was staring at. Like, I don't know which way to go with this. Like, Pac seems like he should win this match. It seems like he is the bigger name. I've said it multiple times. I don't dislike Adam Page. I just don't think he was ready for the headline match. I don't think his character and his style is quite world title esque. He's definitely a mid card, but like a top mid card guy. He can put on a show. He does a great moonsault. But I don't know. The whole package with Adam Page just doesn't seem to be hitting for me when it comes to main event. Pac, on the other hand, I mean, he could totally be the main event guy. Even after the botch this week, I was talking to Jimmy about it before we started recording. Pac had the veteran mindset to go right into the submission hold right after the botch 3 count, which, makes for a good wrestler because he saved it being ridiculously bad. So, all that being said, it just, to me, Pac wins this match and Pac goes on to get back into a program with one of the other guys at the top of this card. It just makes all the sense in the world.
Pac wins. I think throwing Adam into the main event right away before he was ready for it. Yes, pun intended, they hung him. They put him out there and he wasn't ready. He needs to get knocked away a little bit. They need to take him off TV and stuff, give him 2 or 3 weeks, and then bring him back in, just like reset him just a little bit, and they could push him to be the upper mid card kind of person. That could be like a transition champion in the beginning. But I think Pac wins this one pretty easily.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you guys. I'm gonna go with Pac to keep his semi unbeaten streak going in AEW. So we're going Pac.
I think what made this match so difficult was I had to really look at the main title match, and say to myself, what is going to happen on that match? Because if Cody wins, then I can. That's an easy Pac pick if that's what I'm picking. But spoiler alert, that's not what I'm picking. So I can't imagine Pac going against Chris Jericho. It doesn't make any sense. So that brings in 3 people. It brings in Hangman Page, Kenny Omega, or Jon Moxley. Which of those 3 guys do I think is going to go up against Chris Jericho? And I can't see them putting Adam Page against Chris Jericho again. That doesn't make any sense. So Pac wins. Next match is the tag team title match, and it's a triple threat match between SCU, Lucha Brothers, and Private Party. Another kind of difficult match.
Yeah, I mean, you can make an argument for most of these guys to walk away with the belts. What was interesting, obviously, this week is putting that dark match on Friday night with SCU with the titles, which kind of looks like, okay, well, is that because they're not going to hold on to the titles and you don't want to air it on a Tuesday and say, oh, wait, they had the titles, they lost. So I'm eliminating SCU from the possibility of winning this because of that logic. The Lucha Brothers, while they're pretty awesome, I don't think they need the belts. I don't think AEW wants to give them the belts right now. I think they're great wrestlers, but for whatever reason, they just don't need a world title. And I think AEW sees it that way as well. Private Party is a crowd favorite. Private Party is the underdog. Private Party can either be the tag team in this match to sneak the win away from the other 2 or be the ones to take the fall. I'm going to go with them winning this match and taking the titles away from SCU.
Well, I agree with you that SCU isn't going to walk out with the belts, but I do believe it's going to be the Lucha Brothers. I think just like Private Party's a crowd favorite, the Lucha Brothers, people really enjoy watching them. People love Lucha wrestlers for the most part, if they're done correctly. Some industries don't do them correctly. The Lucha Brothers are good. They have wonderful chemistry. They've had great matches with the Young Bucks and other teams like that. I think they fit in better with programs with some of the bigger teams that AEW has at the moment. Private Party is getting there. I think they will get the belts before too long, but I don't think they get them tonight. I think it's the Lucha Brothers.
Man, well, going with the backstory that Mr. Christopher laid down there, I'm going to agree with Steven and go with the Lucha Brothers. I feel like, I think we talked about it. The ending of the SCU Lucha Brothers match was a little weird, wonky, or whatever. It was just odd. So I don't know if AEW is going to do this to right the ship, but I'm going with Lucha Brothers on this one.
And I'm going to say to you, AEW, that I think you're a little more clever than we're giving you credit for. And while I 100% agree with Chris that makes sense from a WWE perspective, I don't know you well enough. And I actually think that SCU is just gonna win the night.
Oh man!
So I'm going with SCU. Now I put Chris Jericho versus Cody as the next match because I'm assuming Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley has to be the last match because much like the dumb, Vegas thing that we do, we have to do the lights out thing. That's going to drive me crazy when I see it. I'm just going to rage when I see them turn the lights off and then turn them back on. Okay, this is technically the end of the show, but there is one more unsanctioned. I hate that. It's okay that
Jimmy's
they do
be
it.
throwing stuff at his walls and breaking tables.
Don't turn the
chairs.
lights off. I just don't like that. Just don't turn the lights off. It's silly. But okay, so sorry. I step back. Christopher, Chris Jericho or Cody?
All right. So After all this conversation of the other picks and the direction we're going, we have to figure out how to pick a Chris Jericho versus Cody match. After Cody drops probably the best promo of his life, can Cody walk away with the title now? Do they see it as Cody having enough push from the crowd, being the biggest babyface around AEW to win this match? And I have to say that while I think Cody's promo was amazing and everyone would love to see him win, I don't see him walking away with the title. I'm going to pick Cody here. There's no stipulation in this match, correct? I don't believe so.
I've not heard of one, no.
So I say Cody walks away with the win. But unfortunately, I'm going to have to put a stipulation on my pick and say he does not walk away with the title. So DQ or some interference, because why wouldn't Jericho do whatever he can to keep that belt and be Le Champion?
And see, I agree with that. And as you were saying it just made me want to pick a different direction just because you were already picking that one. We've agreed too much tonight. I was thinking it's going to be one of those big brawl for alls. Everybody and their mother's going to be out there by the end of this match. I've seen it go in one of two ways. I've seen it to where Jericho's getting ready to lose, so he right in front of the ref just hits Cody with a low blow just to get disqualified. So he keeps the belt even though he loses, which would be, I guess, a gray area from Cody's standpoint, because he says if I can't win the championship, I'll never challenge again. Well, technically he won, but he didn't win the championship. Or they'll have somebody even the odds against the Inner Circle, and Cody will hit Crossroads in the middle of the ring and win the belt. I kind of assumed they would give it to Cody or Kenny from the jump, and they didn't. I think if you give it to Cody, it could help extend the Jericho-Cody feud a little bit more, depending on how good the match is. I'll go with them giving the belt to Cody.
Man, this one is a tough one. I can see it both ways of Jericho winning. I can see it Cody winning. You guys are completely correct that what you said earlier with the promo that Cody laid down on Wednesday was absolutely amazing. I gotta go with my gut, and this was even before Chris had mentioned it, but I am siding with Christopher that Jericho retains because he gets disqualified. Cody's going to get the win by disqualification. I think I agree with Steven again too that it could turn into a brawl here, like that the rest of the Inner Circle comes out, especially Sammy Guevara. I think MJF is going to come out to kind of, even the odds a little bit. I mean, we might even see Dustin with his messed up hand. But yeah, I'm going Cody gets the win by DQ here.
I'm going to say Jericho wins. That's all I'll say. Inner Circle wins the night. Jericho. And now...
So if Jericho walks away with the belt by DQ because he kicks Cody in the crotch, you lose? That's what you're saying?
The way we do picks is... I don't even know how we get points anymore for stuff. So I thought I should have gotten a point for on the last pay-per-view for Brock winning, even though I counted it as a DQ. We used to never be like, well, if he won type of deal, but we don't do it that way anymore. So
it depends on how you specify it.
Wait, are you saying that the score master is messing you up, Jimmy? Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, I was confused by it, but I was like, well, no, if we're going to be that specific, that's fine. I just need to know when I need to go specific and when I don't need to go specific. So that's on me.
So you're specifically saying Jericho's going to win.
Jericho's going to win.
Even if
that's
Cody
fine.
wins by DQ, Jericho.
Yeah. That's what the saying Jericho wins means, Steven.
Just wanted to clarify.
What?
You could say winning the night by walking out as still champion, or you can say he wins the match.
No, I'm not going to be so vague as to try to get points wherever I can. I'm not going to do it that way.
You've done it in the past.
Have I?
You're kind of a shady character, Jimmy.
Okay. All right. Well, Chris Jericho wins. Straight up.
Don't sound so offended, God.
Chris
This is
Jericho
for fun.
wins. Straight up. And I think that's important because the person I have winning the next match is going to be the next person to face Chris Jericho. Next match is going to be Kenny Omega versus Jon Moxley. Go ahead, Chris.
So first they'll have to turn the lights off,
Ugh.
and then they'll have to turn the lights back on,
Ugh.
and then Jimmy will make that noise one more time,
Ugh.
and and then I think I actually I've been thinking about this match as we've been picking the other matches, and I've tried to craft a storyline coming out of this Full Gear, and I think Moxley wins this match. I think Moxley is the next opponent for Chris Jericho. There was a little bit of back and forth at the end of Dynamite, and Moxley actually took down one of the guys in the Inner Circle, and I think that's a way to introduce him into the storyline with Jericho. He doesn't need to be a face, he doesn't need to be a heel, he just needs to go up against the odds of the Inner Circle. Omega just doesn't seem like he needs or even wants to win. He's like the ultimate putover guy right now. He's doing what Daniel Bryan does in WWE. He's doing what Roman's been doing for a little while now in WWE. He's putting other guys over. I think this is going to be a really good match. I think it's going to be really crazy. I think this is going to be not necessarily the match of the night from a wrestling standpoint, but from a shock factor standpoint, this will be the match of the night. And I think Moxley wins.
I agree. I do think Moxley will win. I think it'll be very competitive. I think maybe Jericho Cody could be the match of the night, but this one will be a very close second. Very good back and forth. I just think as long as they're doing the Elite versus the Inner Circle, that Kenny doesn't need that spotlight of winning everything, and that'll be a way of helping him put other people over, like you were saying. And I think Moxley wins.
In a complete and utter brawl for the ages in this one, Moxley is going to come out on top after they both completely destroy one another in I'm going to say a fairly graphic little extreme match that they're going to have tonight that we might not be able to see because the lights will be out, but the cameras will still be on and everyone will still be there. But it's, yeah, you know, you get it, people, you get it. So yeah, I'm going Moxley on this one. And I like where Chris's head was going with Moxley going up against Jericho for the title, you know, in the near future. So Moxley.
I think this is where I guess I should copy Chris from last time and say this is why going first is so important because I think he nailed it in the fact that when I alluded to who I think is going to face Chris Jericho, it's going to be Jon Moxley, and it's for a couple different reasons. Jon Moxley, first of all, it needs to be a win for the night for the Inner Circle and a loss for the night for the Elite. So Omega needs to lose. Moxley is then set up to go up against Jericho so that Moxley can be the person to take the belt off of Jericho so that on the other side we can set up the Inner Circle versus the Elite in a giant match with, you know, kind of Survivor Series-esque, War Games-esque, but obviously not neither of those things. I do really like the idea, and this is totally sarcastic, by the way. I do like the idea of, like, you know how they do The Fiend under red lights, Like, why don't we just do John Moxley and Kenny Omega under no lights? And yeah, that'll be their new thing. Like, it's called a lights out match. Just he can tweet about how Kenny Omega can tweet about how nobody can beat him when no lights are on.
Nobody can beat me when you can't see me wrestle.
Yeah, exactly. So, yes, I agree with this is one of those 4 pick. All of us picked it, so John Moxley, he gets the win. Not to mention, and this is a WWE thing, so I'm not picking based on this WWE-esque thing. Holy cow, is Moxley over? He was more over than Kenny Omega was. They freaked out when he got into that ring.
Like walk through the crowd with a freaking barbed wire bat. I mean, that's dangerous. But
Yeah.
we scoped that out the whole time. We're like, all right, there's a spotlight over there. He's totally coming from over there.
Yeah, but that's the fun thing
Pac's
about
totally
being
coming
live.
from over here.
That's the fun thing about being at the live show. But so I would say, gentlemen, keep your phones available to you. I will keep up with social media because I feel like they would probably put one more match on the pre-show. And if I were a betting man and he can wrestle, I would assume that match would be MJF versus Sammy Guevara, because I think that makes sense.
I would actually think that they need to put Hager in a match here soon, because it just
that would be
seems
good,
like
actually.
he needs to wrestle, and him and MJF have been squaring up a whole lot. But I don't know how long it's going to take Dustin to come back, because obviously that makes the most sense for Dustin to come back and face him.
Yeah, I concur with that. So, but yeah, like I said, I think they'll probably add another match to the buy-in, because they've always had 2 matches before, and I only see the one listed. I don't remember seeing Joey Janela and Sean Spears listed as a pre-show match, so I can only assume that there's going to be another one. But those are our picks. We'll see how they fall, and we'll figure it out. So past that, boys, what'd you think about wrestling this week?
Wait, before we go to that, how long is Dustin out? Do we know?
I'm not sure. I mean, I assumed it's all just kayfabe injury stuff, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it could be based on a real
they-
injury too. You never know, but
Yeah, I didn't know if they said anything about how long he would be out. I mean, and that's why I said you might see him tonight using the cast to help out Cody or deflect someone coming in or something.
yeah, that could be cool. It's interesting. It was a very, very hard pay-per-view to choose, because even though I chose it based on what I think is the most compelling story for the product itself, I could definitely see every single one of those matches going the other way. Whereas there's lots of matches that we pick in WWE sometimes where it's like, no, this person's definitely winning. Sometimes we 4-0, and guess what? We're all right, because they're that easy to pick.
I would love to see one of our 4-0s tonight go completely the other way. And us be like,
Kenny Omega
well,
could definitely win. Kenny Omega could definitely win that match. That's the one. Because Kenny, like Chris says, Kenny hasn't necessarily been winning a whole ton, but it's Kenny Omega. He could win in a moment's notice, and I don't think any of us would hate on it. It's Kenny Omega.
No, not at all.
It was surreal to watch Kenny Omega wrestle. I never thought that would happen.
No, how many times did I turn to you and be like, "Did you ever think you're going to see Kenny Omega wrestle live?"
And
Did
every
you
single
ever
time I
think
was
he'd
like,
be
no,
here?"
no,
Never.
I didn't.
Never.
It was so cool to watch him wrestle. Kenny Omega is simply the best. So
I thought somebody was going to start singing. I was leaving some silence there. That's all.
simply the best.
I almost was
There
gonna
was.
do it, but you guys always hate on me when I start singing songs, and then I get called out for loving the Brady Bunch
Okay.
or whatever else it
Hey,
is. So
to be
I
fair,
was,
that was
I was
not
just
me.
leaving it there.
That was not me. Here's a story.
Exactly.
How many times, I wonder if somebody listening to this podcast could count how many times I say the word story in a podcast. I know I say it 50 million times.
It's the Bald Monkeys drinking game. You
Oh,
listen
God,
to the
no.
podcast.
No, no,
and
no, no,
every
no, no,
time
no, no,
Jimmy
no, no,
says
no.
story.
Don't.
Oh my!
We do not condone this. We
don't.
do not support this.
No, because somebody would
No.
die.
But if you do, if anybody did, you would have to have a stipulation of every time Jimmy loses his mind, you have to take a shot.
I don't know that I lose my mind that much, though. I mean, some podcasts go pretty chill, but okay. But regardless, okay, back to the main topic of this podcast, boys: wrestling.
Oh yeah, we forgot.
Wait! Did that actually happen this week? Because I feel like 2 days were just a complete wait.
That might be a little bit accurate.
Yeah. Raw was rough. SmackDown last night was easy to read, but not watch.
Oh,
I don't know. There was
New Day. Why?
Yeah, I don't understand that at all. I don't
get it.
understand that storyline of giving the New Day the belts back.
And now you changed what was a great match for Survivor Series, because I think all three of those teams were NXT Tag Team Champions, right? Well, I mean, one, of course, duh. But the Revival and the Viking Raiders under a different name, but weren't they both NXT Tag Team Champions?
Correct.
That is accurate.
So now you have the New Day. I read it and I was like, you got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding.
They just constantly crap on the Revival, and this is just another. I don't know. Jimmy brought up a good point that maybe they needed to put the belts on the New Day to turn them against each other, to break them up, to figure out a way for the storyline to go a different direction. I don't like that that's what they're doing, that using the belts to do that. I think they could have did that without the belts and left the Revival alone. But if they go with that direction and they do that, I'm a little more okay with it. This idea that the New Day have to just keep winning the title and keep changing the number of titles they won just to make them relevant is silly to me. Like, there's so many other ways to keep the New Day relevant. They're always going to be relevant. The Revival is the team that either needs the belts. Well, you know what? No, I'm not even going to give it an alternative. They need the belts. The Revival needs to be the scummy, cheating, slimy, freaking old school tag team that continues to be the champs because they continue to hold on to the belts by cheating. They continue to hold on to the belts by underhandedly sneaking a win away from a triple threat, from a gauntlet match, from a match against a team that they should have no business beating, a roll up by using the ropes. Every way you can think of to win the title, to hold the titles, makes sense for the Revival to keep it for a long time. And they just, every time they give the Revival the belts, they make them drop it. And they never gain the momentum that they really deserve. And it's frustrating because, again, it's just a bad direction for the tag division.
Yeah, and I'm not comparing the two tag teams at all, but like it's the same thing they did with the Iconics. Like the Iconics were exactly what you just described, Chris. They were going to be that tag team that was the bad guys. They were going to cheat to win. They were going to do whatever they needed to do, and then they, took the belts away from them. And it was kind of, well, okay. And now you're doing the same thing with the Revival. I'm hoping they don't do the same thing with the Kabuki Warriors. And I'm not going to spoil anything that's coming up next week, even though it's already happened. But again, like, what in the world is WWE thinking?
Yeah, they had Asuka tap to Natty, and that tag match on Raw. That was the worst moment ever when, like, okay, here's the Kabuki Warriors. I'm like, oh, this is cool. Kabuki Warriors. I wonder who they're facing. And then Flair's music hits, and I'm like, great. Yeah, they're just going to feed them to somebody else. Again, you had done a good job of starting to create a women's tag team that made some sense, but you keep having all these individual wrestlers come in and beat them all the time. Doesn't make any sense. You're undermining the value of those tag titles. First, it was with Becky Lynch. She should have never, ever, ever beaten Kairi Sane because at the very least, they should have cheated to beat her.
Yes.
And then the same thing with Natty and Flair. They should have never won that match. Why?
The only reason I could see why they did that was because Natty was coming off the Saudi Arabia pop,
bollocks.
and no, I don't agree with it, but that's the only reason you give Natty that win over Asuka. I mean, there's no other reason. There's no other storyline reason. The only way to explain it is because she just had this big moment. We want to play the promo. We want to push the moment that they had with her. We want to ignore the fact that someone threw a water bottle at her, and we want to make sure that we promote, as Steven always says, talk about women's wrestling and talk about the equality of it and push women's wrestling and talk about it instead of just showing it. So again, it's like to Steven's point, they keep shoving it down our throats instead of building a good storyline and letting that speak for itself.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they're going to bury Natty again for weeks upon weeks or something, or have her continuously go up against the same person, all the time again.
Natty's the big show. Natty's the big show of the women's division.
Exactly.
She comes out. She might be a heel. She might be a face. You're really not sure. She might win a match. She might lose a match. It really doesn't matter. She's just out there for the fans to go, oh yeah, we know her. She was in the Hearts, and she used to be a big name, and she's a good wrestler. So we're gonna throw her out there, and you're gonna recognize who she is.
Yeah.
Terrible.
What other terrible things did we have here? We had a
I have one.
Okay.
I have one. It's continuing to be terrible, and it will continue to be terrible next week because they already taped it. This freaking storyline with Rusev, Lana, and Bob Lashley. WWE needs to
Kill
stop.
it, WWE.
Stop it.
Just kill it.
It's not working, and I will continue to yell on this microphone until someone listens to me. Jimmy has been fighting me on this and telling me that I'm wrong and that it's working. And just because I don't think it's not working doesn't mean other people doesn't think it's not working. You know what? We all think it's not working. It's not working. It's bad. Lana can't cut a promo. Bobby Lashley can't cut a promo. The only one that can cut a promo is getting buried by the other two when he tries to cut a promo. Rusev needs to be pushed. Rusev Day needs to be reinvented. Bring it back up. The crowd is so into it. Let it happen, WWE. Get rid of this stupid storyline.
It's very easy too. All you need to do is you need a pay-per-view. So they need to keep doing it till a pay-per-view, Chris. This is my argument for it. Because again, I don't want them to cut the story. I don't want them to cut the story off. But then you set up a situation where Bob Lashley has backup at the ring, and Rusev is by himself, and it's like, okay, Rusev needs some backup. So who's he gonna get? He gets Aiden English, who comes out there and revives Rusev Day as they squash that storyline, basically. Swap for swap.
I mean, I like the idea of Aiden coming back. I miss Aiden a little bit because they made a good pair, but and I don't want to spoil it for people who don't read the tapings and stuff, but next week's going to be rough. I could see them cutting the whole thing out of the show. That's how bad it went off, apparently, in England. Whatever they freaking did, whatever the promo was, whatever. People didn't even want to write about it because I was reading the summary of what happened, and people were like, it was terrible. They booed them out of the arena, and not in a good way. Like the amount of terrible press they're going to get for this storyline. And I think Vince is going to think this is good. He's like, oh no, this is good. The crowd hates it, so that means it's working. No, this is not that case. The crowd hates it because we're bored, because it's dumb, because they can't cut promos. I don't even want them to salvage it with an Aiden English. I just want them to move on. And the way they're turning it right now, it's not going to go away, Jimmy. They're actually extending it. If anything, we know where the finish line is with this, right? After reading how they went on Friday night with the taping, we know how this is going to end, and it's not going to end soon. It's going to continue on to a pay-per-view because what's going to happen? I'm not going to say it because I'm not going to ruin it, but we all know it. We all know what's going to happen. And I hate it. It needs to stop. There's so much other good stuff. Give Buddy Murphy a push. Give Cedric Alexander a push. Give somebody else this time. We talk about how we argued about the promo with Cody and how much time that wasted, and they could have used that for something else. And I'm not talking about the good promo. I'm obviously talking about the limousine promo. This is the same thing. WWE needs to stop taking the time out of the show to give to these people and give it to somebody who deserves it. Give it to somebody who needs the time, who can get built up and have a better character or a better time in the ring. This is so frustrating because they do so much good stuff with NXT and then they do so much bad stuff with Raw and SmackDown. It's like I'm watching two different products entirely, two different writing crews entirely, two different owners entirely. And I'm over it. I'm done ranting.
Hey,
do you ever sit there and wonder when the same thing is going to happen to NXT? Like, is NXT going to get to that point where all of a sudden,
don't you ever
I don't want to say it. Trust me, I don't want to say it, but like I watch NXT and I'm like, man, I forget who said it on Wednesday, but like this is the A show. This is the show. NXT is the show. I know who
said it. Ciampa said it.
Yeah,
Ciampa,
there you go.
Welcome the OC to the main show, the main roster. And it's 100% accurate.
It's true. And I just sit there and I'm like, man, when is this gonna go south? And whose fault is it gonna be? And what's gonna happen? And then all of a sudden, and God, I hope this doesn't happen, then you're gonna have 3 WWE shows that are absolutely horrendous every single week, and you want to stick your eyes with a needle not to watch it.
Yeah. I don't know. An upside of the show last night is the Fiend attacked Daniel Bryan.
Yes, I did read that because I had some prior obligations and I have not watched the taping of SmackDown yet on my DVR, and I'm honestly not sure if I will after what I read because to be honest, it sounded like a pretty subpar show in my opinion.
Well, yeah, I've got it listed down here, right? And there were a couple things that, again, I'm with you. I actually didn't get to watch it last night, so I had to read up on it a little bit this morning, but some of the things like Tyson Fury and Braun Strowman like fighting the B team together, like, yep, that's exactly what Steven's talking about. That's the boss is totally right. That's wasted time right there. What the heck is that?
Everything with this Tyson Fury stuff, I feel like was a money grab and it's a waste of time. He's now interested in the business and they're going to try to, show him a little bit. I hate to say it, it's just a matter of time before the two of them win the tag titles and then vacate it the next day again. That's what Braun does.
Oh God, please no.
And then what? You got Dana Brooke and Carmella over Fire and Desire to get into to get into the Survivor Series? Was that it? To get into Survivor Series?
I'm not sure. I didn't see it, but like, what are they doing with Fire and Desire? Like they're squashing them, and squashing them to Dana Brooke, of all people, in my opinion. Like, come on, like get out of here with that. Like, Fire and Desire, you have 2 women that are a pretty legit tag team. Like, I would say out of all the women's tag teams that have been put together, they are one of the ones that I would say, and correct me if I'm wrong, you guys, I see them as a tag team, not as singles wrestlers. And
100% they're a tag team.
Yeah, and now you put them up against 2 singles wrestlers, and then you have Brooke and Carmella, Dana Brooke and Carmella win. It's what? Come on. Like, you got to be kidding me with this. When I read that, I was like, there's no way. Nope. Oh, they did? Oh, okay. Well, I'm not paying any attention to like the rest of the show. After the 2 things that I read, I was like, you got to be kidding me.
I think an equally wasted well, I thought it was a wasted match was this continuation of this Andrade Selena Vega with Sin Cara Carolina now. Like, man, I'm not digging what they're trying to put down here with this match. Like I get it just feels like we don't have anything for you, Andrade. So now we're introducing, turning it into a mixed tag match or whatever, and then I don't find Carolina necessarily to be very believable. Now I think half of the problem is that she just comes out of nowhere. So it's just like throwing
and
this.
she's young.
Yeah, well, I mean, there are young wrestlers that are interesting and more compelling than that, though. It's just the double mixed lucha. I don't know. It's just not working for me.
Yeah, I mean, the first time they did it, okay, I get it. The second time when they actually, I was like, okay, yeah, sure, but like to have it keep going on now is just it's that foursome has just gone on too long. Like I don't know. Again, like what Tiro said earlier, we also read a lot of stuff that's out on the internet, some of which is true, some of which is rumors and all that kind of stuff. But, one of the rumors that came out once, the draft got over, and even before that with Heyman on Raw was, certain guys getting a bigger push because they were quote unquote, Heyman guys. And Andrade was one of those guys that was spoken about. And like, you're not pushing Andrade in this story. Like you need to plan better. And this Sin Cara coming back and then going, it's not working for me. It might be working for somebody out there, but for me, it's not working.
Yeah, I mean, if you were going to rehash any of his old back and forths, why wouldn't it be Mysterio? And the reason, obviously, for that is because Mysterio is, culminated into this Brock feud. But quite honestly, like Ray going in there and beating up Brock with a chair at the end of that match at Crown Jewel doesn't seem like a valid reason from Brock's standpoint, the way that he's always been portrayed, to then want to absolutely destroy Ray. It's more like he would go out there, beat him up one more good time, and then that would be the end of it. But they've turned it into this weird kind of blood feud type thing, and it feels a little bit forced to me. So why not give Brock a different opponent and have Mysterio go up against Andrade? Then they were routinely having epic matches over and over and over again.
Do you feel like this could be Ray's like last go at everything, and like they're gonna put him out, possibly at Mania, in a quote unquote maybe final match kind of thing? Because could that be what they're doing?
Oh man, it's weird because trying to imagine Mysterio fighting for the title and maybe even possibly winning the title, I mean, I can understand it, but I don't know that I like it.
Could he win it beforehand? Could he beat Brock beforehand? Somehow. Let's say like, it happens with one of those, Dominic kind of gets involved somehow, messes with Lesnar. The ref doesn't see it. Ray wins at an earlier pay-per-view than Mania. And then come Mania, now that's his shining moment, his last match, kind of thing. And now Brock gets it back at WrestleMania. Like, could a storyline like that come to fruition here?
I think it could get close. Honestly, though, what I know of WWE from watching it for many years, though, I don't think Rey Mysterio can beat Brock Lesnar. That's just my take on it.
I mean, and that goes back to my whole thing of the believability and unbelievability of our love for sports entertainment. Not necessarily wrestling, but
I think Ray's
the
gonna be
believability.
1619. Just one.
Wouldn't that be great? He trips him up, 619, pins him automatically, gets the belt, kind of like Brock did to Kofi. Is that what you're talking about?
Yep, 100%.
poor Kofi. And then of course, gosh darn, I hate to go back to something we already talked about, but surely that them winning the titles back is exactly setting up for a heel turn of some sort of one of them, whether it's Kofi or Big E.
I hope it is, but I almost feel like them winning those titles is to get people to shut up asking him. So how do you feel about losing the main title? How does that make you feel? Now he's got a different title. They can ask him about being tag champion again. I hope it's to turn somebody heel, and it's not just to distract people from the fact that they took it from him in 10 seconds for a stupid ass match at Crown Jewel.
I'm having a feeling that we're all completely wrong on this Kofi New Day thing. Like, we all want it to go one way, and I'm pretty sure all four of us want one of the two of Kofi or Big E to turn on one another. But I just have a feeling that like WWE is like, no, we enjoy the cash cow of what the New Day is, and with with now it just be the two of them and not the three of them in the ring, we're just gonna ride this for a whole nother 8 to 10 months possibly.
I suppose that maybe the Shorty G merch sales are not going as well as they thought they were going.
No, really?
It seems like when you try to force somebody into being the new John Cena, it doesn't actually work very well.
You didn't like the Cena squad look?
I mean, I'm sure there's some little kid out there that wants to look like Shorty G.
Probably.
His name is Steven the Boss Hill.
Oh.
Look like him physically? Sure. Look like him where he dresses? No.
What if he dressed like Kurt Angle? Wear that one piece, man.
I've wore a singlet before. It's not very flattering.
That picture needs to go up on social media.
Oh my gosh.
No. I don't think I have any more of those when I wrestled.
If I wore one of those and took a picture, I would give Michael Cole a run for his money for worst looking ever.
What about the Polo Boys, man? I thought they were going to win that match on Monday.
Really? You did? The Polo Boys, huh?
I really thought it was going to be the Polo Boys over the Viking Raiders on Monday. I mean, I was shocked when the Viking Raiders won.
This local talent thing, I feel like we're in this never-ending, spiral of like, we do the right thing, then we do the wrong thing, then we do the right thing, then we do the wrong thing.
Yeah,
I just don't get it.
It's so odd. It's like, okay, just let them go. I mean, we've said it a million times. You have enough tag teams out there to have a good match if you want to every Monday with the Viking Raiders and a legit tag team. Listen, WWE, listen. We know that the Viking Raiders are big, strong guys. You don't have to continue to tell us and show us that they can beat nobodies. We get it. We understand. We're at the comprehension point in our sports entertainment understanding that they can beat the nobodies. Come on.
You know what would work better? You remember when there was that first tag team turmoil, and the OC got in the ring with the Viking Raiders, and they just started beating the hell out of each other, and then they disqualified both of them?
Yep.
Why not have the Viking Raiders just go out to the ring, lay the belts on the ring facing the ramp and just be like, come on, whoever. And then have AOP come out there and they start a match and it just ends like that. They're just beating the hell out of each other. I mean, you can start a story like that. I mean, the tag team turmoil match, I remember being annoyed by it. But I think that it's not the worst way to do a storyline if that's how you kick it off, if that's how you're starting it up, you know? And there still is maybe this, storyline of, I don't know. See, the thing that has made everything so muddled is this invasion angle. And the invasion angle was amazing on SmackDown. On Raw, I don't know. Not so much.
Yeah, you kind of knew it was coming no matter what, and it wasn't so much of a shock. It's almost like they should have taken like a show off, and then and I liked what they did on NXT with the OC coming out. I mean, the OC is like all over the place right now. They're everywhere. I feel, and that was good. I liked what they did on NXT on Wednesday, and the ending of the show, it just sets up something that I think we've all talked about. I think.
What kind of like the club versus the Undisputed Era type deal?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I've wanted that storyline for a long time where you set up, them to work together, but the inevitable conclusion of that is that you have AJ versus Finn Balor fighting over the loyalty of the club.
Yeah, and I liked. I think it was Styles that put out on Twitter or something like, it was good to see an old ... friend.
Yeah.
In reference to Finn.
Absolutely. I think it's interesting, and obviously, you've got the dynamic. I mean, Adam Cole was also in the Bullet Club. He never led it, of course. He was just in it for a little while. But
yeah,
I mean, that's a spicy meatball of a storyline. And not surprised that it was on NXT where that happened, because that's where all the spicy meatballs live.
Exactly, because that's where all the good writers are. Do you feel like the Raw and SmackDown writers are ever like, man, shit, we really got to step up our game because like NXT is just kind of like destroying us?
Here's the problem. I have to imagine that what it's like to be a WWE writer is that you probably craft a great storyline, and maybe you even craft it for week after week after week. Like, you have an idea that really could just really take a life of its own, and then Vince comes in and says, no, I don't like it. Change this.
Yeah, he's like the ultimate micromanager, and it's crazy. It's like, bro, just let people do their jobs, just let things happen. Like what happens? Like, man, what would be the worst thing if you let the writers actually do their job and like have them do a full story without you micromanaging everything because, I want this to happen and I want that to happen, and oh, there's no way that this can happen. It's got to be this way. Like why can't we just let it go? Like,
I like
just a little bit.
I like your Vince McMahon.
Yeah, it's not as good as Bray's, but it's okay. It's okay. But yeah, it's just let things happen. Like, let them go. Like, do you think we've ever really seen a time with the WWE where the hand of Vince McMahon was not thoroughly shoved in the cookie jar?
Well, here's a question for you, Chuck. And I have this question for you as well, Steven. So, disregarding the Bob Lashley, Rusev, Lana angle, or disregarding the New Day with whatever they're doing with the New Day, kind of spitball a storyline idea to me. Like, what would you write? Like, what is a wrestler or wrestlers that you would focus on, and what would you do with them?
Oh crap! I defer to Steven on this one at first. I got to think about that. I
So you're
mean,
wanting to know what wrestlers I would want to push and do stuff with?
Yeah, and I just want like a cuz I we're logical sane wrestling fans. I know we can put together even if it's just like a rough draft of like an idea for a story. Like what is a story that you would push in WWE right now?
Right now, I guess I'd have to take it oddly to SmackDown. Of course, with what they're doing with Cesaro and Nakamura and Daniel Bryan and Sami Zayn, I would love for that to turn into like a in-depth four for all storyline where actually the Sammy and Cesaro actually look good in the end of it, and you push one of them. Love to. I think most of us would love to see Cesaro get pushed. I would love to see Sami Zayn get pushed. I think it's time to actually let him be in a ring and compete again, as long as he's healthy enough, which I believe he is. And just do some work with your mid cards like you should. You have, like I said, you have people like Sami Zayn. You have people like Cesaro, Andrade. You have all these people in the mid card you do nothing with. Push them. I would love to see Sammy and Cesaro get a push toward the Intercontinental picture, or at least do something with Shinsuke Nakamura. Because in the last couple months, I can't actively remember any legitimate anything with him other than the Crown Jewel Team Flair Team Hogan match.
Yeah. I mean, I think those are all good points. I think that their mid card in particular is a very tricky situation where they're not putting any emphasis on it anymore. They've got their
Yeah,
two or three
that's
stories.
that's with the IC title and the US title. They're using them for other storylines and not actually doing anything with the belt.
You know, there was an interesting angle on NWA Power that I kind of liked. So you had James Storm obviously wants to get a title match with Nick Aldis in NWA Power. And I think Eli Drake was out there and Colt Cabana were out there. And Colt Cabana wanted a shot at James Storm's title. And Eli Drake is just basically out there being kind of a nuisance and talking and trying to get different matches to happen because really at the end of the day, he's interested in going after a title. And Nick Aldis goes, okay, well, how about we do this? We have a 3-on-3 match, and if my team beats your team, then you give Colt Cabana a title shot. And then he goes, okay, but if my team wins, then you give me a main title shot. And he goes, I'll agree to that on one condition. And he goes, well, what's the condition? And Nick Aldis says, if you win, you abdicate your title. Because if you really want to go against the man, then there should be no reason to hold on to like a little title like that or something like that. I maybe misquoted that a little bit, but I like the idea of that, right? I like the idea of, okay, if we're not going to use this mid-card title, and I'm going to use AJ Styles as an example. Now, the only issue with this, and I'm not really going to pitch this too hard because I like the OC as being heels or whatever, but if we threw that concept into a WWE match, it would probably morph and mutate. Like they would probably say if AJ went to Brock and said, I want a title match, it would probably turn into, oh, but you have to put your title on the line against us. And then you would make Brock like a dual champion or whatever. That's the wrong idea. But if they use that abdicate title thing, and then suddenly you have this free title, and that opens up the ability to make more storylines for the mid-card title, put importance on it, put it on people that are actually the mid-card. See, that's the problem. With that title in particular, you have that title on a top card guy, but it's a mid-card title. And that actually does matter. That title doesn't need to be on AJ Styles. That title needs to be up in the air for Buddy Murphy and Cedric Alexander and at this point where he's at in his push, Andrade, guys like that to be fighting over. guys like AJ Styles, they shouldn't be interested in the mid-card title because they're not mid-card players. And now Shinsuke, I think Shinsuke is the right person to have that title, or one of the right people to have that title. But again, that emphasis on those stories, that's a good thing. I agree 100%. You got something for us, Chuckles?
Oh man, I don't know. I just like looking at stuff. I agree that like not so much the US, but definitely the Intercontinental Championship. Like I feel like, yeah, we see Shinsuke, but like we don't really see him a lot. I feel, I don't know. I could be completely wrong. I mean,
No, we don't.
I am not a Shinsuke fan. I'm sorry, Nakamura. I hate his stupid knee finisher to the face thing. I think it's stupid. I think his entrance. I'm just gonna blow up Shinsuke Nakamura right now. I think his entrance is stupid. I don't like him. He's not in the same realm as Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar was, because I really like pay no mind to him, but like I feel like he's going up against the wrong people. Like WWE is putting him in matches against the wrong people. I feel what those right people are. I mean, as I was sitting here, I was like, man, like who would I want to push? What would I want to see? Who would I want to see together? And like, I know I always like give WWE a hard time for putting singles wrestlers together in tag teams. And I know they're on two completely different shows, but I would love to see like this whole Ricochet has got, the superhero thing going. I would love to see him and Ali together. I feel like they would be kind of crazy together because they're both big high flyer guys. They pull out these crazy moves. I mean, that Matt Riddle over the top rope backwards, I don't even know what the hell you would call that, on NXT was crazy. And I think they even joked about it on Twitter a little bit, but like I like want to kick myself for even like putting Ricochet and Ali together in a storyline, but like having like the two of them like be like a quote unquote like superhero-esque type team, because they both kind of dress that way. But like another thing that I was thinking about, like AOP, like we're putting, promos out all the time. Like when are you going to show up? Like when are you finally going to come out? And like, why haven't they come out yet for anything? I mean, they've had WWE has had a number of opportunities to get them back in the ring. And I feel like they keep missing the boat on it. Like, I think we talked about it. I forget who brought it up for, the best tag team in the world thing. Like, I think someone even brought it up. It might've been you, Jimmy, about having AOP show up and be one of the teams in that. Like, that would have been perfect. Like, here you get him in that with, 7 other tag teams. Great. But, yeah, I feel if I was a WWE writer, I would be trying to push those mid-card titles on both shows. I agree with you that I think AJ is at the point where he doesn't need it anymore. It's not doing anything for him. It's not doing anything for the title. Let him relinquish it to a number of the people that you exactly brought up. I mean, Buddy Murphy, Cedric Alexander would be are perfect guys for it. Humberto Carrillo would be a great guy to have in the mix with that kind of stuff, and get the tag teams back on track. Like, let's stop with all this tag team turmoil stuff and the three-way tag things, and just get back to like good old tag team wrestling. Like, where are the Usos? Like, we know that they got in trouble, but like they've been nowhere at all. So I mean, I guess that's what I would what I would be writing for are those three things. Rant over.
Yeah, and I also think all that is good ideas. I think it'd be interesting to be in a writer's room and to section off people, to be like, okay, who's our top card, who's our mid card, who are our tag teams, what does our women's division look like? Make divisions and worry about writing storylines for people that we section off with each other, not all over the place. And the biggest problem that and this is not actually, this is by their nature, because they have less wrestlers, this isn't an issue that AEW really has to deal with, because again, when you go over their men's roster, they don't actually have that many people. So they can rotate through them fairly quickly and you'll always get a taste of the top card. And the fans are all about the top of the card, but I would also argue for a WWE side, they haven't made the mid-card compelling. And if you can make a story compelling with the mid-carders, then people will want to see them. So it's not the mid-carders' fault that you write a crappy story. And I know some wrestlers would argue, well, you might be given something crappy, but it's what you make of it. Yeah, but you look at some of those old times, and those wrestlers were given so much more freedom. Guys like The Rock, guys like, Kurt Angle, guys like Stone Cold Steve Austin, these people that are you might put up on your Mount Rushmore of wrestling, they're given a lot more creative freedom. Shawn Michaels, Triple H, goodness gracious. They were part of some of the best storylines in WWE history, and what was the difference between then and now is the amount of creative freedom that they were given. They were given a story, but then they were able to help workshop that story, whereas I feel like so many wrestlers nowadays aren't given that freedom. So the truth in Cody's promo was, there's freedom here in AEW. I mean, that was one of the big spots. There's freedom in AEW. There's freedom for your own personal creativity. And if a wrestler and I know he's just like a jobber and he's not necessarily supposed to be over, but if a wrestler like Brandon Cutler can make his whole deal be Dungeons and Dragons, I mean, I don't know that that's going to ever be the most over wrestling idea, but if he was the one who helped workshop that and he's happy with that, then it's kind of like you go to work every day, right? And if you go to work every day and you're surrounded by people that have negative vibes all the time, like it's hard not to soak in that negativity. Well, if you work for a promotion that allows for enough creative freedom that the stars are at least happy, I don't know. There should be something there.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, we know that, guys like Seth Rollins probably have a little bit more creative freedom than some of the other guys. But then like at the same time, you hear reports and stories of Vince like completely slamming down things that, Rollins quote unquote apparently wants to do, like wearing all white ring gear. Like Vince was like, nope, not happening. It would be interesting to know who on basically Raw and SmackDown I'll talk about, because I feel like NXT has a little bit more freedom, I feel, and I could be completely wrong, but it would be interesting to see who on Raw and SmackDown currently have a little bit more of themselves in their promos and in what they do than other people. Like sometimes I feel like R-Truth, I feel like they just let him do what R-Truth does. Like I don't feel like he's got like a script that they particularly make him go by, whereas somebody else like maybe Drew McIntyre, I feel like they're like, nope, you're doing this is what you're doing, and that's it. Like I feel like Drew doesn't have too much freedom. Again, I could be completely off base, but it would be interesting to know like who has looser strings, when doing stuff.
Yeah. I know one of the things that me and Chris and Steven talked about. Steven brought it up in particular, though, when we went to go see AEW, was you brought up Drew McIntyre. Like, it was kind of interesting to see that that Bobby Lashley interference happen with Rusev, and they like kind of showed Drew McIntyre just like look at them, like Bobby Lashley attacking him, and then he just kind of like throws his hands at him, like kind of like, yeah, whatever, and just walks away.
Yeah, I noticed that. I actually thought that for a second there, almost, that McIntyre was going to go after Lashley. Like, bro, what are you doing?
I mean, that's an interesting way of saving it. That's for sure. So.
Yeah, right. And I mean, I feel like we need to save that entire storyline and just start anew. I mean, Rusev and McIntyre, I feel, would be a great feud back and forth.
All right, real quick. Let's try to have a discussion real quick. What are the worst 3 storylines? We don't need to talk about them just yet, but what are the worst 3 storylines in WWE main card wrestling right now? It's definitely Bobby Lashley, Rusev, correct?
Definitely.
That's
yeah.
one. What's the other one? Do you have anything else that's jumping out? Maybe I would probably say Kairi Sane and Asuka losing too much. The women's tag team belts, I think, is a very bad program at the moment.
I don't know if I would put it in there. I mean, it is kind of stupid with them throwing in the singles matches and then having them lose to people that you're not going to put the tag team title. I mean, as I say that, in my head, I'm going, why are you even saying this? Because now it's going to happen. Like, you have them lose in singles matches. You have them lose in a tag team match. Like, why would you put the belts on, Charlotte and Becky or Charlotte and Natty, and take them off of Asuka and Sane when they're legit, probably one of the most entertaining tag teams out of the men's and the women's in WWE. But I could easily see how that could be one of the 3 things that, is terrible.
How about Shorty G?
I don't mind the Shorty G thing. I think my biggest one we touched on earlier is the bringing in non-wrestlers and giving them instant spotlight push over all the people who deserve it more.
Boom.
Like Tyson Fury and Cain Velasquez, those are wasted organizational moves for me. Like, they were not needed, either of them.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would say that would be number 2 on my list. Under Lashley, Rusev, and Lana, it would be the Tyson Furies and Cain Velasquez's of the world right now. Like, there's no point in you really coming in here to do anything in my mind. I mean, other than to, grab ratings from a different, demographic kind of thing.
Yeah. And I would almost follow it with, I could either say mid-card wrestling, I think is a good number 3, but it could also equally be women's wrestling. And it's not to say that they don't have the talent for it, because we have so many very talented wrestlers across all of them. That's the thing I always gets me so frustrated even about AEW, is that I've seen good matches, good women's matches. So when you put on a bad women's match, why?
So your issue is just lack of direction for anything that's not the main title.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the absolute number. I think that's the number 1 biggest problem on WWE.
I agree, but I think it's more than just. I think you notice it more in WWE because of how big they are. But I think it's like you just mentioned with AEW. I think it's the directional issue with a lot of places.
Sure.
To where they're trying to fill so much content with so many people, but still get so many people that face value, and it's just
people like AEW are running into it because they haven't been around long enough to get other people established. And people like WWE, they have Raw, SmackDown, NXT, NXT UK. They have way too many shows and way too many stars that instead of developing storylines and pushing stuff, they're like, well, let's just throw so-and-so together again. We know it worked last time. Well, that doesn't do anything. They're being lazy with the direction more than anything.
Sure.
Yeah. Number 3 for me then would be the utilization of the rosters, I would say. Just because like we'll sit here and like we'll talk about and bring up things like, you know, what do you think would what do you think would be good? Like who would you do with this, or where would you put somebody like that? And then I look at the rosters and I'm like, man, we haven't seen this person, that person, this person, that person, this person, that person, that person, this person, that person, this guy. We haven't seen her. Who the heck is he? Like, I feel like they just like Steve was there. There's too many people. I mean, we know that WWE is going to shove their shows down our throat, and I guess that's one of the nice things about AEW, you know, coming in and being, you know, the startup. You know, they have a roster and they're using it and utilizing their talent, I would say, fairly well. Better than WWE in my opinion, because like we can look at the AEW roster, at least on the men's side, and say, yeah, you know, I've seen these people within the last like 3 or 4 weeks, but like when was when was the last time we saw Titus O'Neil? Not saying that I want to see Titus O'Neil, but like when was the last time we saw him? When was the last time we saw the Ascension? I mean, they're still on the Raw roster.
Yeah, for sure.
There's just so many, and then you don't even see them. Not that you would really want to see them, but like then you don't even see them, or you don't even hear about seeing them at house shows. Even, you know, they're so what are they doing? Like what's going on with these guys? Like we brought up AOP, they've done the promos, but where are they? Like what's when are if I was AOP, I'd be like, well, when are we gonna get back in and, you know, start wreaking havoc? Like what we've had some spots where we could get into a storyline and we're still sitting here, you know, in a dark room making promo. Like Aleister Black, like I feel like we see him and then he's completely gone for a while and then he comes back in. Like, who wants to pick a fight now? It's like, bro, where have you been?
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. We're all making great points for sure. So with that being said, you know, we're kind of at the end of our time here. If you could see only one of these major things change, but one specific storyline change and just get totally resolved next week, you can only pick one. Which one do you resolve?
I would say resolve the Lashley Rusev Lana thing. I would say that for me personally, that needs to be the one that gets done and over with before or at Survivor Series or way sooner, and just wash your hands of the situation and move on. Have Rusev go in a totally different direction than he is now. And like Christopher said, bring Rusev Day back.
Steven.
I would say the mid-card title pictures. I want that fixed more than anything. They used to mean something. They don't. Let's fix that.
And I will go with the women's tag teams. Don't put Asuka and Kairi Sane against Charlotte Flair and Natalya. I know you need to put him in the show. If you need to put him in the show, put him in the show in a singles match or something like that. Don't put him up against that tag team. Let's do things that make sense. And, you know, you're hurting with, you know, Fire and Desire, right? Well, the one the one group of people that we know has the okay to go across shows are the women's tag team titles holders, right? So have Asuka and Kairi Sane go fight Fire and Desire instead of having Dana Brooke and Carmella beat them. Let's have a good match against real tag teams. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for listening this week. Wherever, however you are listening, we thank you. I hope everybody has an opportunity to watch Full Gear tonight, AEW's pay-per-view. I believe there's also an Impact pay-per-view going on tonight. I could be wrong about that. But I'm pretty sure. Let me look that up real quick for them. Impact.
By the way, just before we go, just a little bit of an update. We've had other things to talk about, but a little bit of an update, I think, because both polls have been finalized.
Oh, the polls. I forgot about it.
I'm pretty sure that we are, and I can't take into account Instagram because I can't see it, but the cumulative stats between Facebook and Twitter, if you add in the, I think 64 some odd votes, it pretty much looks like an even split down the line of a 50% Superman punch, 50% belly to belly. So it's just like the Tootsie Roll Pop, gentlemen. How many licks does it take to get to the center? 1, a 2, a 3. The world may never know.
The world may never know. The one thing that we do know is congratulations to the Bayley to belly and congratulations to the Superman punch for both being awful moves.
True fact.
So I can't find this fast enough. I'm pretty sure there might be one tonight, but I'm sure Full Gear is going to get most of the press. So go watch Full Gear. Enjoy some wrestling. Enjoy all wrestling. Watch all of it. Go watch NWA Power. Go watch AEW Dark. Go watch Impact. Go watch Ring of Honor. Go watch all of it. And come back and listen to us talk about it next week. Thanks everybody for listening. See you then.